2. Welcome back to the Hurdle the Line review show brought to you by the AAW Network. I am your host Fletch. Got no Chapman this week as he's still in recovery from this weekend's trip to Germany. And as is usually the case for Monday nights, we're joined by Ollie and Tom. Gents, how are we this week?
Very tired, very good. I suppose as good as you can be as a Browns fan, as I suppose I say this every week now. But yeah, I'm okay. I'm getting by, guys. I'm getting by.
I tell you what was really nice for me yesterday was that there was no real although there was emotion watching the games, yeah, but like when you're not as invested because your team's not playing, you can kind of you can enjoy the other games a bit more because you're not
Yeah.
worrying about, oh, the Chiefs are playing later, they're going to beat this team or they, whatever. So that was quite nice to take a back seat and just enjoy the football, really.
Yeah,
So
but
yeah, you can never lose a bye week
Yeah.
unless you are the Cleveland Browns, who seem to somehow
well,
lose bye weeks.
I do. There's a way in which you can lose a bye week. And it's like if
Oh,
Mm.
I
all
know,
three of
I
your
know,
divisional opponents play or
I
and
know.
win and all that stuff. Um, but Right, there's just one game left this week in week 10. Just a small case of the Eagles and Packers tonight on Monday Night Football. And we have 13 games to talk about from whatever happened on Thursday night. That was a monstrosity. To ball in Berlin, we've got upsets, blowouts, the race for the playoffs is heating up, and the number one pick as well. Before we get into it, don't forget you can follow us in the AAW network on the socials. Join our free to join Discord, and you can find all of the relevant links and information in the description of this episode. If you're on YouTube, it's right below all of these faces, and if all these beautiful faces even, and if you are listening on Spotify or Apple, you can just go directly into the app and you'll find all the links in there. All right. Um, well, buggered that one typing it out, didn't I? Anyway, before we start, we'll get straight on to just a bit of news. There's a little bit of news this week, starting with Brian Daboll was fired earlier today. It's a matter of time. It was a matter of time, lads.
I could see it on his face already. So, he's been predicting this well. I mean, we've all been thinking this was going to happen at some point, but it was about when the Giants were finally going to pull off the band-aid and say that, they are done. Like clearly, Joe Shane, he's the GM, right? Is he still the
Yeah,
Yeah.
GM?
and he's somehow keeping his
Somehow
job.
still the GM. But John Mara, clearly he liked Brian Dable and he didn't want to have to do this, but got to a point where you know, they're one of the worst fourth quarter teams. I think they've got a minus 47 point differential, something like that in the fourth quarter. He went 20, 40, and 1. Like, that's not good enough, really. So you are going to lose your job. And unfortunately, he's lost his. So
Yeah.
All I can say is I'm not very surprised. Tom knows how much of a Brian Dable hater I am.
level one hater.
Level one, A1 Brian Dable hater since day one, since
Day
2009,
one, day one,
2010.
day one,
Since
A1 hater.
this guy was a Cleveland Brown offensive coordinator, wasn't good then, isn't good now. This guy has never been that good.
Yeah. Um, Funny though, because he was coach of the year in 2022 when he took over, took the Giants to the playoffs with Daniel Jones. Um, your legacy's kind of three losing seasons since. It's you let Saquon Barkley go and immediately he's successful. You let Daniel Jones go and
I was gonna say,
immediately he's
yeah, I was gonna say,
successful. That's where your legacy's more than likely going to lie at this point. Like you've been terrible, and clearly your program has been what's holding these players back. Um, Joe Shane will lead the search for the new head coach. That has been announced by multiple people within the team.
This guy must have some dirty pictures of
which,
the owner or
which,
something to still be the GM, to be honest. I don't
yeah,
know how he's still the GM, but
I mean that literally means that nothing has changed. It's like I think this is the first one of the. Like, this is a rare occasion where you sat the head coach and still somehow change nothing. Because
Uh,
as long as he's still in charge, the same kind of issues are still going to persist. So
well, let me ask you this question. And I know obviously we'll get into the Giants game later on, but do you not think he walks in and goes, "Look how good Jackson Dart is. Look how
mm,
good Cam Scatterbo is. Look how
mm.
good Malik Neighbors is. Look at my track record in these drafts, and look at what I can do with a draft and the talent I can get in. It's Brian Daboll's fault. Fire Brian Daboll. not me because I can
Look
drop.
about how I didn't re-sign Saquon Barkley. Look about
Yeah,
how I let
three
Xavier McKinney leave and go to the Packers and become like an all-pro. Like,
three three players after a 20 and 40 record, all of them top, all of those top 10 draft picks, and they're obviously, don't get me wrong, they got Abdul Carter this year. Obviously, I was a massive Abdul Carter guy, but let's ignore that. But you know what I mean? That's an obvious. You can't praise someone for picking Abdul Carter in the draft. You know what I
mm,
mean? You can't praise someone for picking Malik Neighbors in the draft. Like, oh my God, wow, you picked the best receiver in the draft when he was there and you needed a result. Do you know what I mean? You can't really praise someone for that. But like, and I don't think every other thing that he's, as you said, Tom, with obviously the Saquon thing is obviously going to be the biggest thing on this thing, and obviously with Daniel Jones as well, that's obviously going to be a stain on the team as well. But no, I just don't think. I think you have to get rid of everyone. You can't just fire just Dable and expect everything to change.
No,
yeah.
As bad
understandable.
as Dable is, and I'm saying that as a day one Dable hater.
Yeah, I'm just asking the question. Just asking the
And
question.
also, and also, like Cam Scatterby, I mean, like Cam Scatterby was fun, but like I think we all knew it was going to last about 4 weeks, and it did last about 4 weeks. And don't get me wrong, I wish him health for the rest of his career and stuff, but I just like it's fun while it lasts, but I don't see him being a long-term
No,
productive player in the
this is
NFL.
what I said on the internet.
I hope I'm wrong, but
When he came out, I was like, he's gonna have the best 3-year career you've ever seen in
yeah,
your
yeah,
life. Like because it's just the way he is, the way he runs through people. Like if he continues to do it, I mean, Jackson Dart might do the same thing, to be honest. But we'll move
Yeah.
on to that at some point. So yeah,
Um, in a couple of little pieces of news, Darren Payne, the Commanders' defensive tackle, has been suspended for one game after punching Amon-Ra St. Brown in yesterday's game against the Lions and Commanders. Bit of like odd news no one was expecting to hear today. Broncos linebacker Alex Singleton, a couple of weeks ago, was sent for a blood test and discovered that he had testicular cancer.
oh shit.
It was operated on Friday after they played on Thursday night football. The tumor has been removed, according to Alex Singleton. He said that the prognosis is as good as it can be. They got ahead of it early.
mad.
Um,
Did you just say that he played on Thursday?
I believe he did.
What an abs! I mean,
That's crazy. Fair
what an
play.
absolute that is boss moves. I
Yeah.
hope I hope him obviously a speedy and healthy recovery.
Let me just double check because
Because
all
that
I know
is
is it was
that is, mate, playing an NFL game and then getting
he
surgery
did
for testicular cancer the next day.
Yeah,
Wow,
that's kind of crazy.
he
that's like
did.
Superman stuff.
Not only that, by the way, obviously again we'll get into that game slightly later on, but he recorded 9 tackles as well on the.
Did
Wow.
he did he lead the team in tackles?
No, they were well. Joint led the team in tackles, but Hafunga had more solo tackles.
That's still insane though. Joint leading the team and then after that you're gonna go and, have a surgery that, could be, very impactful in your life. Like
Yeah,
that's
so
And
crazy.
and remember, everyone listening, cup your balls at least every once in a few weeks.
absolutely. Well, this is one of the reasons that it's November, it's Movember. Men do this for things like prostate cancer and testicular cancer, and to raise awareness for this. So yeah, lads, please, please, please do be checking. Um, in other news. Today it was announced that Joe Burrow's 21-day return window has been activated as he was in practice earlier this afternoon. And so they have, what is it? It's a 21-day window from the day you first practice to be activated from the roster to the main roster. And it's all been but confirmed. They're just waiting for the owners to approve it. But Orlando have confirmed that the Jags will be using Camping World Stadium for home games in 2027. Camping World Stadium is the home to like the Cure Bowl. It's home to the Pop Tarts Bowl. Um,
They'll be trash no matter where they play, so it
What are
doesn't
they
really
doing? Are they
matter.
renovating their stadium?
well, they're building the brand new one.
They're
Um,
building a new stadium. I swear their stadium was like not even that old.
no, but I'm pretty sure the building. If I'm right, they're building it on the site of Everbank.
So they're demolishing it and then rebuilding it.
Again, yeah, it might be slightly different. I don't know if it is just actually renovations or what, but it's all going on the actual Everbank site anyway. Either way,
Yeah. All right.
um, but it's like the 1.5 billion dollar stadium.
Did it break the Browns one? Was it more
I'm not
expensive than the
sure.
Browns?
I'm not sure. Um, right. So anyway, the 13 games this weekend. There were a number of them that were very good games. We had the number that were enjoyable for one team, but on ones that were horrible for both teams. Starting with dubbed the Brady Bowl by numerous people this weekend. The 7-2 Patriots squaring off against the 6-2 Bucks, who have Rookie of the Year favourite in Emeka Egbuka. They've got MVP favourite, or one of the MVP favourites in Baker Mayfield. Tom, Patriots coming in with Drake May. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think he's second now in voting for the MVP is Drake May in his second year. So it is his second year, right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, thought so, thought so.
Do you mean in like the MVP like ranking? Do you mean obviously they don't vote like ESPN's ranking or something?
Yeah, but it's
Yeah. No, I'm not saying I disagree. I'm saying, but like obviously they don't vote yet. But like
no. But what I mean is,
you meant
yeah,
as in
like in
like you meant
terms
as
of
in like
the
he's the
current
second
season
favorite. Yeah,
rankings
yeah,
where we're
yeah,
at
yeah,
in week 10.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But this was a really good back and forth game. The Bucks started out in vintage style, going down the field, scoring a touchdown on that opening drive. Um, and it looked like the Patriots kind of might look a little bit out of their depth to start with, but beautiful touchdown from Drake May, brought them back. And then they scored either side of half time to then take the lead. And then they kind of never relinquished it really. That Patriots defense played so well. The main thing going up into this matchup was that it's two of the best run defenses in the NFL. With the Patriots being number one, and I think the Bucks being number two. So you didn't think that there was going to be many explosive runs, or it was going to be more Baker dropping back and Drake May dropping back and see who would win. But what ended up happening was with the Patriots, they had a breakout game from Travion Henderson, 147 yards, two touchdowns, including the one that more or less sealed it as well, because they're already up at that point, but he breaks off a tackle and then runs 67 yards for a touchdown, and that kind of ends it. Even though the Bucks work their way down the field, Baker Mayfield throws a touchdown and make it interesting. But it was in that kind of third quarter where the Patriots got a really big fourth down stop as well. The Bucks turned the ball over on downs. And I think the Bucks are just missing that real. Obviously, Ibuka had a really good game, 6 receptions, 115 yards and a touchdown, continued his great rookie season. But I think they're missing another big playmaker. Rashad White was kind of held somewhat in check. They're missing guys like Bucky Irving, obviously Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, just another element to this offense, and with some of the injuries that they've got. And that just became a bit too much for them to overcome in the end. And very impressive win from the Patriots in Tampa Bay, really. And Drake May continued, he did have one pick in this game, but he also had two touchdowns. And he looked poised in the pocket despite getting, hit a lot as well. So, yeah, fair play to the Patriots for winning this one.
Yeah. You see there about that, you get the turnover on downs with what is it, 147 left on the clock ish. I know you need like it's a 5 point game, you need more than 5 points. You don't know what's gonna happen then. But to go 9 plays, 50 yards, turn it over on downs, and then the Patriots, like I say, 2 plays, touchdown, Travion Henderson, game over.
Yeah.
It it's just so deflating. It's impressive, at least somewhat impressive that they came back straight up and then marched down the field with less than a minute, score a touchdown. So like you say, to try and make it interesting.
And I think they did go for the onside kick as well, to try and do a miraculous onside kick. And did want to shout out as well Tez Johnson in this game. He didn't have a lot of, yards, but he had two really big touchdowns for the Bucks. And there was a point where I think the Bucks led 10-7. And I thought if they get the next score in this game, they might run away with this game. And it ended up happening with the Patriots, really,
Yeah.
kind of turning the game around on its head and then being able to come out in the ascendancy. So with coupled with them winning, and then we'll get onto it at some point, but the Bills losing, they've now got a two-game lead at the top of the AFC East. So
Yeah.
the
And
Patriots might be back, unfortunately.
like you say that you go in at the half. The Patriots score a touchdown, go up 14-10, literally on the height. That is it's a walk-off touchdown with the PAT, and then they get the ball back to start the third quarter. They score straight away with Travion Henderson and a 55-yard run. I used to just those two drives either side of the half really do kind of yeah. Um, Ollie, I have to ask because two of your boys were in this game today. You've got Travion Henderson and you've got Emeka Egbuka. Emeka Egbuka putting up 115 yards, Travion Henderson 147 yards on the ground, and then he gets 3 yards in the air as well. So 150 overall. Like, how good is it for you to watch two Ohio State rookies walk into the league and put up between them just shy of 300 yards? Over
Yep.
250.
Two national championship winning Ohio State rookies as well. No, it's obviously great to see every time you see Buckeyes playing well. And Abutu's obviously had a great year. It's almost like not even surprising at this point every week when he has 100 yards and a touchdown. He's shown that he's one of those kind of rookies. But Trevion Henderson, it's just good to see him finally out of the doghouse. Apparently, because it was bizarre. They were like, there was games this year where they'd be inside the 5 yard line and they were handing the ball off to undrafted rookies over Trevion Henderson, and you were thinking, what has this man done to annoy Mike Vrabel? And finally, the last few weeks, getting more opportunity and obviously being able to do more with more opportunity and show that how good he can be. And obviously, as you said, great to see Buckeyes performing well in the NFL.
Yeah, I realised what I did as soon as I set you up for that one. I realised what I'd done. So thanks for the reminder there, Ollie. And just as a little bit of it, well, the Patriots now advanced to 7-2. No, 8-2.
8-2.
8-2. The Bucks dropped to 6-3. The NFC gets a little bit more open at the top, a little bit more congested at the top. But for you reminding me of that one, Ollie, I'm going to throw this game straight back in your face. Well, Browns and the Jets.
Yeah.
Both had a bye week last week. Browns coming in off a loss, Jets coming in off their first win of the season. Prior to that, it was never going to look like it was going to be a pretty affair. But the 2-6 Browns, favourites headed into the game, seemed like a really good time to get a win and see what you can find out for the rest of the season. And then what happened?
I mean, as you said, the Browns were favoured in this game. And the Jets, I think the Jets were initially favoured before they traded away Sauce Gardner and Quinn Williams. Obviously, then the Browns were favoured. But what the bookies did not consider was that nobody can out-tank the Cleveland Browns, not the New York Jets, nobody. And when it comes to tanking, no one does it better than the Browns. And that's how the Browns lost this game now. I mean, I hope it was tanking, because if they were trying in this game, then I'm obviously even more concerned than I've obviously been throughout this season as it is. But I expected to win this game. It's quite rare that I've been going into a game like, yeah, we should probably win this. And it was one of those games we scored. It was funny. You said the bye week. Both teams coming off a bye. They've had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. And if you watched both teams' opening drives, you would have thought that they played yesterday. It was genuinely genuinely two of the worst opening drives you've seen from offenses all year, and they had 2 weeks to prepare for it. The Browns were then able to respond with their only really good drive of the game. It was like a 95-yard drive, get a touchdown, go 7-up. But then, as they have been all year, allergic to playing complementary football, they immediately, on the ensuing kickoff, give up a touchdown. The special teams, of course, being a massive problem for the Cleveland Browns, not just this year, but the last few, I mean, literally forever, really. But obviously continue to be bad. And then Browns get the ball back, obviously, 3 straight incompletions, punt it away, and they return the punt for a touchdown as well. So you immediately go from scoring a touchdown, being 7-0 up against the Jets, to being 14-0 down against the Jets. The first quarter ends, the Jets ran 6 plays on offense. I think they had under 10 yards, and they had about 8 yards of total offense. They had 0 first downs, and they were winning 14-7. So Just one of those kind of stats for the history books for the Browns. Had to go along with quite a few that went into this game as well. Third quarter, as bad as it gets, two terrible teams, two terrible offenses, not really much to talk about. And then the fourth quarter, the Jets were able to pretty much get the only play that worked all game for them, and that was a screen to Brees Hall that went for 42 yards for a touchdown. Other than that, no Jets player had over 4 yards of receiving. So that was the only play that worked for them pretty much in the passing game all game. The Browns were able to get a field goal back, cut it to within 7, and then all year we've complained about the offense, complained about the special teams, as I did in this game, as I just did just previously, and they deserve all the blame for most of the stuff that's happened this year. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't blame the defense when the defense plays bad. And at the end of this game, the Browns defense had a chance to come off the field. It was 3rd and 16. They're running the ball. They're not even trying to get a first down here. They're just trying to run the clock to punt it away, get a few more yards to punt it away to you. And you get a defensive holding call and you give them an automatic first down. Pretty much game over. You've got a slight chance if you get a quick 3-and-out. You do get a free, and they then decide to come to the field on 4th down to try and, trick you and get you offsides on 4th and 2. They're not snapping that ball. And they still jumped off sides to end the game. So ending the game by jumping off sides is obviously never great. But as I said, the good stuff to take away from it is that the Browns lost against the Jets. So we're going to, if we don't win a game this year and they don't win a game, we're going to have a higher pick than them just because of that and the strength of schedule. Other teams lost in our favour. So if you're a team tank guy, it was a great weekend. But no, it was a terrible performance. Absolutely awful. Probably the worst overall performance from all phases of the team all season. Not like the worst loss, because obviously there's been some worse losses this year, but in terms of all the defense, special teams, and offense all contributing to what was just a terrible loss. I suppose I don't really know what else to say other than
I was going to ask you something, Ollie, off the back of that. Was the comments that I think Myles Garrett made off the back of the game and the performance and everything, and saying, sorting the QB position, it's not my problem. So I think obviously he didn't say it in that way, but at the end of the day, he's got to focus on the defense, not the offense. So and the situation with the quarterback. So what do you think the Browns will do moving forward?
Tank baby tank, I suppose. But in terms of Myles Garrett, I mean, like, I'm the biggest Myles Garrett fan. And if you look behind me, there's a Myles Garrett. Tom will attest. I'm one of the biggest Myles Garrett fans out there, and even I will say that Myles. It doesn't really matter what the F Myles Garrett says now. He had a chance to force his way out in the off season and decided to accept all that massive contract. So in the end of the day, he kind of signed his own wishes here. So whatever he says can only really go so far. Don't get me wrong; it's obviously never great to see one of your best players obviously unhappy, and obviously you are going to be unhappy when you're Myles Garrett, you're the best defensive player in the NFL when your team's 2-7. But yeah, I mean, going forward, I expect them to lose a lot more games. Is the answer to that, Tom?
Yeah. I mean, like
2026 draft, here we come.
Here we come, baby.
how often has it ever happened before, having a kickoff return and a punt return in the same quarter?
No, not on back-to-back possessions. I think that's the first time in NFL history or something.
It's not the first. I don't think it was the first time. I think it's happened once or twice before, but it was the first time in Jets history.
Oh yeah, that was
not even back to back, but the first time in Jets history that they've had a kickoff return and punt return in the same for touchdowns in the same game.
I can't help. I didn't. This other game obviously didn't particularly appear too much on Red Zone throughout the afternoon.
Oh,
But
I did have one more thing from this game, by the way. It was a sound clip from the game that was suspect, to say the least. Some of the things that the commentators come out with is interesting. And I'm pretty sure he said Justin Fields never felt him coming. And he said coming in a very suggestive kind of way. And that was picked up by my housemate who's recently got into the NFL and was like, "Hey, yo, that is crazy."
Hard.
So just another one of those things where, where like it's just taken out of context, but it was you love to hear it.
I mean, Justin Fields threw 11 passes in this game and had 55 passing yards or 56 passing yards, and the
Yeah.
Browns still lost this game.
Yeah. Net passing yards, he was at 42 because of the
Love that.
sacks.
Yeah, love that.
But I
It's
see,
better than the minus he got in London, I guess.
Yeah,
yeah.
true.
I mean,
Minus
I
nine?
did
Is it minus
say,
nine passing yards? I don't know.
I did say that like, I think it was earlier on. I was like, if you're gonna count sack yards against pass yards, I think you
Hmm.
should count interception yards too. But then like that, you're pushing on Justin Fields having yards at all at any point,
Bro,
really.
you'd have games where guys have like minus 200 net passing yards because they had like two 90-yard pick sixes.
Hmm.
Like Quinshon Judkins had more yards on the ground than Justin Fields had in the air. Brees Hall had more
Qu
yards on the ground than he did in the air.
Quinshon Judkins has more yards after contact than he has yards. Make that make sense.
That's crazy.
Like the guy gets tackled behind the line of scrimmage every snap, and still crazy, crazy.
And do you know what's even crazier though about the Justin Fields stat? If you didn't have the one Brees Hall 42-yard
Yeah,
reception,
that's what I'm saying.
just like
Yeah,
it's
Hmm.
unbelievable how
that's no other player had
bad.
more than 4 receiving yards
I
outside of
mean,
that
how
one
did that
reception.
even? I mean, that shouldn't even count as a reception either. He literally just dumping it off to Brees Hall, and Brees
He
Hall does
threw it
all the work
sideways.
to get the touchdown. Like, come on, like, what is the?
That was yeah. He'd have had what, like 12 yards if it
Yeah.
wasn't for that.
Yeah,
That's just what I'm saying, and that's what I mean. Like, oh, and that's the one play in the fourth quarter that they
Mm,
scored a touchdown off. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
You give up
yeah.
12 yards the rest of that, and then you do that.
It's so yeah, that's
Great.
just how bad the Jets were. And if you were confused, the Jets won this game
Yep.
and now advanced to 2-7
Because
on
as
the
I said,
season.
I'll say it one more time. Nobody can out tank the Cleveland Browns. We know
Shout out
what
to Mike, the Will McDonald as well. 4 sacks for him
Yeah.
for the
and
Jets.
any Browns fans listening, it's going to be a rough, last what 8 9 games. But in the famous words of Mean Girls, can't remember what her name is in Mean Girls. Get in, losers. We are going tanking.
I- Then, okay, so this is how the early slate on a Sunday was going. It was actually the first slate was slightly early. I can't really call it a slate though, 'cause it was one game. Our day started at 2:30 p.m. again this
Yeah.
week, thanks to the second to last iteration of the 2025 International Series. Chapman's Falcons faced off against the Indianapolis Colts in Berlin in what most people thought would have been a decent win for the Colts, pretty much a sweep. The Falcons, however, had different ideas, didn't they, Tom?
They did. They did indeed. It was an absolute showcase in Berlin. I was actually messaging a few people during the game being like, why could we not have a game like this in London? Because even though the game we went and watched, was entertaining, but this game was blockbuster. It
What you
went
mean?
back and forth.
You mean you'd rather have this than the Jets and Broncos game? Really?
Well,
What?
or maybe the Browns Vikings. No, that being said, we had a great time, didn't
Hey,
we?
there was at least touchdowns in that game.
Yeah,
Yes,
there
there was.
was. There was true.
Multiple
Yeah.
touchdowns plural.
There was touchdowns plural. There was. But yeah, it was a blockbuster of a game. It was, it looked like the Colts were going to run away with it. I think they were up by 14 points or so. But the Falcons just kept working their way back into this game. Drake London, he's just an absolute baller, to be honest with you. Bijan was playing pretty decent as well. But with the Colts. I mean, there's no other words than Jonathan Taylor MVP. Like, I mean, this guy is on a historic run. He had 243 rushing yards, and 3 touchdowns, brings them up to 17 total touchdowns on the season, 1,139 rushing yards. And that's through 10 games. Like, I mean, this guy is on a historic pace. Um, and even though Daniel Jones, he showed some frailties in this game, just like he did against the Steelers last week. He fumbled the ball 3 times. He had an interception. But when it mattered, when the game was on the line, when they needed to drive down, they needed to get a field goal to go to overtime. Fourth down, he finds Tyler Warren. Great catch from Tyler Warren. He had a really good game as well. Um, and then they kicked the field goal. And one thing I'd say about Daniel Jones is that he's a certified dog, man. He's he got sacked 7 times in this game from the Atlanta Falcons defensive line. And there was, a very clear graphic where, he had blood on it. It looked like he was wearing lipstick because
Yeah,
he had
yeah,
blood on his mouth and he was still playing. He was still going out there and gutting it. Um, and it felt inevitable when it went to, overtime that as soon as it was the Colts ball, when they got the ball back after a great fourth down stop, that they were going to go down and win this game. I mean, they
yeah,
got down into field goal range and they were like, well, bugger field goal. Let's just hand it off to 28 and watch him run through people and find holes. And even on that last, I think he leads the league like by far as well in yards after contact because the dude is just an absolute wrecking ball. And even before that, with the Falcons potentially getting an upset, they were up by 7 at that point, I think. He looks like he's stopped dead in the backfield. He somehow spins out and then runs for an 83-yard touchdown, which is the
yeah,
longest touchdown run of the season, surpassing Bijan Robinson's one against the Bills. So, yeah, just and in the process as well, just for one more thing for Jonathan Taylor, he actually surpassed Edgar and James for the most touchdowns in Colts history. So yeah, I mean he's the greatest Colts running back of all time, and he's going to go down as one of the greatest running backs of all time if he can keep up this pace.
yeah. It was a genuine like I really enjoyed watching this game, but like you say, look, nothing needs to be said about Jonathan Taylor. The guy is money every single week. Daniel Jones, you're absolutely right. Like the interception came at the end of the half when he's trying to
Mm.
launch it, and it still counts. It's still an interception, and it was still a pretty bad decision. But like they're slightly different to a interception halfway through the first quarter when you're on an actual proper drive. Um, but no, he's tough, man. Um, but yeah, it was one of those games where after a while I was looking and going like, again they're in Daniel Jones's face again, and that doesn't
He had that
account for
scramble as well. Like I think it was like 3rd and 19, and he had it
yes,
for
yeah,
like 17 yards, or it was 3rd and 21. He got it for 19 yards, and he made it 4th and 2. So without
19,
him,
yeah,
yeah, 19 yards. Without him with that rush, they wouldn't have had the fourth down opportunity to then be able to throw it to Tyler Warren and stuff. So he definitely played his part in this game. But yeah, it was Jonathan Taylor all day long.
yeah. I want to say like Daniel Jones got 53 yards on the ground, and that's including the 19-yard what he got. So they really that Falcons pass rush was horrific for him, caused all sorts of problems. But like you say, you just Jonathan Taylor and Bob's your uncle. The Drake London touchdown was fantastic. Though his catch
Mm.
radius is ridiculous.
And I'm sure Ollie would like to talk as the A1 hater for uh, for Sauce
I
Gardner. Although
he's
people are saying that we can't call him Sauce anymore because the way that he got cooked. So yeah, I think it's Ahmad Gardner right now.
Jus more than anything.
Yeah,
It's like a
I think
jus.
Tom is referring to the screenshot that I sent into one of our group chats of him crawling. I think it was crawling as he was getting cooked on that 2-point conversion by Drake London. I think he forgot how to walk on that play. Yeah, 2 first-round picks, baby.
And AD Mitchell. And
And
AD
Eddie
Mitchell.
Mitchell.
But they said the Colts, I say walk away, they run away with Jonathan Taylor to an 8-2 record. The Falcons fall to 3-6 in a Yeah,
And
again,
speaking of first round picks, sorry, they don't have a first round pick this year, but just the Rams have their first round pick this year, and they are
Mm.
3-6 right now.
so I,
It looks like it's going to be a nice pick for the Rams.
it is. So Sam will more than likely be on a Falcons hate watch. Sorry, Chapman, but
Yeah,
I
you
don't
could
know
come
what
and
it's
join
like.
me. Come and join me. Jaguars,
I
Falcons.
don't. I don't know what it's like to be hating on another team because they have a first round pick that they're going to give to us. So I need them to lose. Team does know that as well, though. If you wouldn't have figured out by
What do you mean that you had
every
the
time
Rams first round pick?
it's been that long. So
Well, that long ago
hang
was
on.
it? 4 years ago.
So
That was a top
now
five pick, wasn't it?
that was like
Eighth.
eighth,
Yeah,
ninth.
you ended up getting a good pitch out of it, didn't you?
I mean, you got
Um,
Jameer Gibbs, so I mean, not too bad, you know.
Everyone got injured, didn't they? They had that year where everyone got hurt.
yeah, I was right after they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
Then it was
yeah,
literally the one
everyone.
after.
Yeah.
But if you'll actually let me set this one up, because I thought I was
Sorry,
really clever.
sorry.
This one, sorry. Someone in this room does know what it feels like right now to be watching another
Ah.
team hoping that they lose every game they've got because you've got one of their first round draft picks. And after losing two on the bounce before the bye week, the Jags were looking to get two wins on the bounce following the bye week,
Broads.
advance to 2-0 in the AFC South, and further ruin the 2026 first rounder that they've sent to Cleveland. For a while, it looked like they'd do it, Ollie.
Yeah, and they were unable to do it. I mean, 19-point lead. That's well, 17-point lead early on in this game. Then the Texans were able to somewhat get back into it. And that 17-point lead, like in case people think that like this was because like Trevor Lawrence was playing well in this game or something, that's how they no, like, Trevor Lawrence was literally terrible in this game. Like it doesn't actually make sense how they had a 19-point lead in this game. Or I suppose it does kind of make sense. The Texans basically gave this lead to start the game. Interception, fumble. I think their first two offensive possessions. Obviously, the Jaguars were able to capitalize from that. But as I was saying, got a 17-point lead early. The Texans were able to come slightly back into it. I think cut it down to like 10. Then they were able to end up and extending it to a 19-point lead, I think, from the virtue of 3 field goals. As I was saying, Trevor Lawrence was not that great in this game. And then at the end, pretty much, as I said, Trevor Lawrence unable to get the job done. The Texans were able to come back into this game. Touchdown, Jaguars punt, touchdown, Jaguars punt, and not just punt, three and out punt. And then another Jaguars obviously touchdown at the end. 93-yard touchdown. Davis Mills. I'm there. I see that they get, one chance. I think it's 5 minutes left in the game. Davis Mills. I haven't got much faith, guys. I'll be honest, in Davis Mills going 93 yards to go and, improve the Browns draft pick. But he was able to do it, and he was able to get all the way down to the 1 yard line.
Browns legend for life.
Browns legend for life as a virtue of a pass interference call, 1 yard line. It was then 3rd and 14. So 3rd and goal, sorry, from the 14. I'm obviously there very annoyed at this point, thinking they've absolutely blown it after having the ball at the 1 yard line to win this game. No, Davis Mills, as you said, Tom, legend for life, hero for life, steps up, comes out of the pocket, runs it in for the touchdown, takes the lead. Obviously, Houston takes the lead in this game, 36-29. And then the Jags to end the game, they get one good play. They actually get slightly closer, and I'm thinking, oh no, Cameron Little can literally kick the ball from what 100 yards.
70,
So to be honest,
75.
even at this point, as soon as they got the ball, I was like, I think they still might trot Cam Little out to try and kick this.
Yeah.
So they got a little bit closer, and I'm going, oh no, oh no. And then to end the game, as I said earlier, sorry, that's why I got confused. It was 30-29 at
30
that
to
point when they
29,
scored
yeah,
when they
because they
scored the
missed it. They
touchdown.
missed the extra, but they went for two, didn't they? And they didn't
Yeah,
get it.
went for two and missed it. And then as I was saying, what ended up getting it to 36 was the final play of the game. Trevor Lawrence tries to throw the ball, ends up fumbling the ball straight into Will Anderson's hands, who runs it in for the touchdown as the clock expires. I'm there in my living room, very happy after watching the Browns lose. At least I can have one good thing on that weekend. and that is the Jaguars losing. But I think the biggest takeaway from this game, if you're not me and you're just rooting for the Jaguars to lose this game, is obviously Texans basically saved their season at this point. Like, if they had lost this game, I think it's pretty safe to say their season was over. They've given themselves a lifeline here, pretty much saved themselves. And B, Trevor Lawrence going forward with this Jaguars. I mean, if you saw Liam Cohen on the sideline, his reactions to a lot of these Trevor Lawrence decisions, there was one point where he just threw the play sheet on the floor, and it just looked like he was just stunned with Trevor Lawrence. He was that fed up. He's obviously owed a lot of money over the next few years. Can you really move that contract? I don't really know. Will anyone even take that contract? I don't really know. But I think there could be, some fissures between the head coach and the quarterback going forward with how bad these performances have been from Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. And
And shout out to Daniil Hunter, who
Oh yeah, he went
equaled
crazy.
Will McDonald as well. He got 4 sacks in this
Yep.
game. He was an absolute monster. And so what happened as well was Will Anderson knocked the ball free, and
Yeah.
then I think it was Sheldon
Oh,
Rankin
sorry. Yeah, Sheldon Rankins was the
was
one
the
that got.
one that
Yeah.
then returned it.
Yep.
Because I was watching that live and I was like, it's 30-29, and I was on Jags hate watch because I think the Jags are frauds, and I don't know how they were 5-3. But and they beat the Chiefs when they shouldn't have anyway. But so I was on hate watch anyway for them. And they were the seventh seed going in as well. So I was hoping that they would lose and make it closer for the Chiefs. And then when Sheldon Rankins then got that ball and then just ran it in for a touchdown, I was ecstatic, for sure.
yeah. Um,
I do apologise. I've got something in the oven. That's why I kept running away. Sorry,
Yeah,
everyone.
no
that's
worries.
right. Um, so yeah, one other thing that I think you can root for in this game is those weird little stats that you walk away with. This was in fact a scorigami.
Was it?
29-36, never been done
Hmm.
before. First time in history. This was I love like little things like that just make the entire weekend. And also, as much as like I don't have a dog in this fight, I know while he's not on the screen, when Cleveland needs someone, up steps a man whom they know are very familiar with. I was gonna say you kind of hope that in that situation, unfortunately, CJ Stroud was not available, but
Yeah.
obviously he's fed a word into Davis Mills there, just like look, as Cleveland, it's my Ohio State people, he's doing something. Um,
Shout out
and
to
then
Davis Mills.
19-point fourth quarter deficit. Now,
Yeah.
if there's one team that's used to this kind of thing, that's one of the teams we're going to very much next. Scatterbolus New York Giants. They head to Soldier Field in Chicago this weekend in hopes to end a 3-game losing streak against the Bears team that were looking to march on after a narrow win in Cincinnati the week before. They thought they had it at one point as well. But generational team at fourth quarter blown leads the New York Giants.
Yes, I mean that's it exactly. Generational blowing leads. This wanted defensive line as well. Other than Brian Burns, who's put up a lot of sack numbers so far this year, is disappointed, and this defense has just been absolutely atrocious in fourth quarters. And it felt like the momentum switched in this game as soon as Jackson Dart came out. Because he just got a lot of confidence about him. Going into this game, off the touchdown he scored in this game as well. He's 17 total touchdowns since he's become the starter, which is, he's brought a bit of life to this Giants organization, and it's in massive need of life. But yeah, on the defensive side of the ball, they led 17-7. They looked like the Bears were going to do a Bears, because they have what, 5-3. Were they 5-3? I think going into this, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
they were 5-3, and you thought, they're 5-3, but are they a bit fraudulent? Blah blah blah. But then, to come back in this game, Caleb Williams, the last two possessions in this game, played like the number one overall pick. He took charge of the offense. It went down, and then for him to score the rushing touchdown, sealed the win for them basically. Um, just kind of capped off a really good comeback from the Bears. I mean, albeit they shouldn't be down, 10 to the Giants. Roma
at home.
Dunze off the back of his dad saying, can my son get some targets? Got targeted on the first rep of the game, and he did get a touchdown in this game as well. I think he's got six receiving touchdowns this year. Um, so yeah, the Bears, and this was with the Bears. There was so many drops for the Bears as well. Olamide Zaccheaus with a terrible game. Yeah, he had a couple of drops. So it wasn't like Caleb Williams wasn't playing well. It was that the rest of the offense was kind of letting him down. But then it finally clicked into gear in the fourth quarter, and they were able to, come away with the win in Soldier Field and move to 6-3.
Yeah. Speak about the Giants. Like I did a little bit of manual research before. Like 6 games this year, they've had at least a double-digit lead. Well, I say at least a double-digit. You can't get a triple-digit lead in the NFL. If you do, like you aren't losing games. Um, but 6 times they've had a double-digit lead in a game this year. Against Dallas, they had a 10-point lead in the second quarter. Lost that game. Against the Chargers, they had a 10-point lead in the second quarter. They won that game. Against the Saints, they had an 11-point lead in the second quarter. Saints scored 23 unanswered points and won that game. Against the Eagles, they first time round, they had a 10-point lead in the first quarter, a 10-point lead in the third quarter. Luckily, they came away with the win there. And then the last 2 games, not the last 2 games they played, sorry, but in 2 of the last games against the Broncos, they had a 19-point lead in the third quarter, 18-point lead in the fourth quarter, lost. And now against Chicago, 10-point lead in the fourth quarter, they've lost. That's 4 games they've lost this year while having a double-digit lead at some point.
And they're 0-4 on the road in those games as well. So they just cannot. I mean, there is a lot of dysfunction in this organization, and Brian Daboll is at the heart of that. So him coming out, I mean, I agree with Ollie. Until they get rid of the GM that did not re-sign Saquon Barkley, let Daniel Jones walk, let Xavier McKinney walk. I don't think anything massive is going to change. So I think that's definitely something they're going to have to look at, especially dropping to 2-8 now. They're just going to be thinking of next year and how they can improve, become a better roster. Because division and everything else is out of the window right now. For the Giants, especially with Jackson Dart's health as well. He went out with a concussion in this game. Russell Wilson came in and was pretty bad as well. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, we don't want to just talk about how bad the Giants are, though. We'll give one more shout out to the Bears, who overcome a 10-point lead. Caleb Williams, you want to see that kind of thing from a number 1 overall pick. You want to see him lead in fourth quarter comebacks. You want to see him making clutch plays, and that's exactly what he did in that second quarter. Bears are 6-3 now. Same record as the Lions, half a game behind the Packers because, well, they have the tie. The Packers play tonight. The only reason the third in the division now is because of the tiebreaker with the Lions.
Mm.
They're knocking on the door, they're hanging around, and the question now, I think, is whether they can do it for the next 8 games.
Yeah, yeah,
But
100%. I think it's about maintaining the position that they're in and driving forward, because I think this is something that happened to them before. They were 4-2 in that game last year against the Commanders. They get the Hail Mary, it's 4-3, and then next thing you know, they lose the next 4, and their season ends up 7-10, something like that. So they just got to keep the momentum that they've got. Because they could potentially, who knows, they could go and win a playoff game maybe. I don't think they're going to win
yeah,
multiple playoff games, but I could see them, maybe pulling off a playoff game.
yeah. Absolutely, definitely. And shout out to Ben Johnson, man, because as horrible as it is to see a former OC go in your division, like the
And
job he's doing
I
with
think that's the biggest difference from this year and last year is that they lose these games last year because of coaching.
absolute. Oh
Whereas
yeah,
this year they've got an actual competent and good head coach. So
exactly. So I like I said, the difference between them, especially
yeah,
offensively, is night and day. Um, And Clay, you can see it in the way Caleb Williams plays. You can see it in the way that a lot of the offense is working. Um, Moving on to the Ravens, who were looking on a three-game winning streak after starting 1-5. Ollie, they're trying to. Does it start to get a little bit tasty? Jackson's back. Ravens are playing well.
Yep.
Steelers not playing as well at the moment. It's getting a bit tasty at the top of the north again.
Well, there's a reason that even like 2 weeks ago, when the gap was like 3, 4 games, they were still favoured to win the AFC North by most bookies, even despite them being like 1-4 at the time, and the Steelers being like 3-1 or whatever it was. So obviously, crawling back into it, they're only like a game and a half out now from the division, from the Steelers. As I've said all the time, the Steelers' last 8 games every year, they always seem to falter a little bit. If they blow this to the Ravens, when, as I said, when it looked, the Ravens were 1-5, they were what, 3-1, 4-2, whatever it was. If you blow this division to the Ravens, I think that might even be enough for Mike Tomlin to get sacked of all people, because that is just pretty inexcusable at that point.
Yeah.
The performances have been bad from the Steelers, but this is not what we're talking about. The Steelers, we're talking about the Ravens. So obviously, let's get back to the Ravens. But yeah, obviously Lamar Jackson back in this game. The reason they were favoured is because they knew that Lamar was coming back. They knew that these players were coming back. You looked at the schedule; it's one of the easier remaining schedules in the NFL. They're pretty much favoured in every single game. I think until the end of the year, maybe other than one. So. Obviously, with Lamar, with those guys back, they're expected to win games. That's what they did in this game. I'll be completely honest, I didn't see too much from the game. Obviously, saw a bit of the highlights, obviously saw the stuff like that. But obviously, 9 didn't come to play in this game. JJ McCarthy
I was
came.
going to say nine was not fine in this
Yeah,
game.
9,
Nine
his
was not
his, his
fine.
alter ego 9 did not turn up to play today. Well, yesterday in this game. It was actually JJ McCarthy that played in that game, and he was quite underwhelming in that game. But if Lamar Jackson's playing quarterback, you've got a chance in whatever game you're in. And of course, but as soon as they got him back, we knew they were going to start winning games, and I would not be surprised if they end up winning the division. I picked them to win a division. I thought it'd be I said they would dog walk the division. I think that would have been the case if they didn't have all those injuries to start the season. I don't think they would have been 1-5 at that point, and they would obviously probably be in the division lead by now. But as I said, game and a half behind, creeping up on the Steelers. So I think they probably end up catching them.
Yeah, I agree. Especially with the schedule that they've got as well. The tough start of the stretch that they've had, they've already gone through. Their next few games, are very winnable games. Let me just get up the schedule. Um, oh, yeah, so the next
Next game's the Browns.
next game's the
I
Browns.
know that.
Then they got the Jets,
Yeah.
the Bengals. They got the Steelers again, the Bengals, the Patriots, which is probably their toughest test. So they could potentially be what, 8-5 going into
Yeah.
the Patriots game, potentially.
Yeah. And they played the Steelers last week of the season, which, as I said, creeping up on them if it comes down to that situation, especially if they win that first Steelers game, then that could be a very interesting, obviously, last game of the season between those two teams.
Yeah, exactly. So it feels like the correlation of when Lamar Jackson came back and, the offense started to click more and the defense started to turn things around, especially with Carl Hamilton was making plays all over the field in this game. He looked like, the all-pro that he has been in the past. Roquan Smith was playing well. They had 2 interceptions. They could have had a third one as well. JJ McCarthy was putting the ball in harm's way. He did have a beautiful touchdown throw as well. But he had some of those questionable throws too, that, gave the Ravens the position. And the
Yeah.
Ravens, despite, not scoring touchdowns on the first 4 possessions, they kicked 4 field goals. They then, when they needed to, when they were down, they got the touchdown to Mark Andrews. I think they got another one as well. So they ended up being able to sort up this game and move to 4-5, right?
Yep. And we're just saying, Fletch, that nine didn't turn up to play in this game. It was actually JJ McCarthy that turned up to play in this one.
Right. National champion JJ McCarthy, yeah?
His alter ego nine. Did you
I'm
see that
aware.
stuff? Did you see
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
stuff? He's got an alter ego nine that turns up on game days. Unfortunately, he did not turn up in this one. And
Didn't
no, I'm kidding.
didn't meditate hard enough before the game.
Yeah,
Yeah, he obviously did meditate. I don't know. But yeah, I think that pretty much sums up that game.
yeah.
Yeah. Next up we had what was arguably the biggest shock of the week
Yep.
when the Dolphins faced the Bills at home. Well, this was a surefire win for the Bills. They couldn't mess it up, could they, Tom?
No, well, apparently they could because they're named the Buffalo Bills. But after, a massive win against the Chiefs last week for the Bills, they were just deflated in this game. They were terrible. They were down multiple scores in the fourth quarter. The Dolphins were the more prepared team. They were the team that were ready to go. And I wanted to give a special shout out to Mike McDaniel because there's been a lot of talk of him getting sacked and all this sort of stuff, and I understand it. The Dolphins have not been a good team, especially like last time out. They were absolutely atrocious, but you know his team came to play. They came with a passion. They came with an energy. Tua Tagovailoa had a much better game than he has recently. Touchdown to Jalen Waddle. And you know, the problem with the Bills is that outside of, their best wide receiver, they don't have another element like other than obviously James Cook's a great running back, don't get me wrong. So they can run the ball. But you can run the ball against this Bills defense. And the main reason why the Chiefs didn't beat them is because they don't have a competent run game. But if you have a competent run game, you can run the ball down the Bills' throat. And that is exactly what the Dolphins did in this game. Obviously, the conditions, it was really hot and then it started raining, all this sort of stuff. But the Bills' offense, couldn't keep up with the Dolphins. The Dolphins' offense was all over the Bills' defense. Devon Achane, 225 total yards, I think two touchdowns, two or three touchdowns. He was on fire in this game. And the Bills, tried to make a late fourth quarter comeback. One really impressive play from Josh Allen. He ran about 38 different, he ran about 30 yards behind the line of scrimmage to kind of find his receiver down the field and keep the game going. But it was too little, too late. And the Dolphins get a massive win at home. And the Dolphins end, I think the Bills' 6 or 7 game winning streak that they've had against their division opponent. So yeah, really impressive win for the Dolphins, and concerns for the Bills, especially with that rushing defense and the way that they just got ran all over. Yeah,
Devon A-Chain show.
yeah.
Yeah, Devon A-Chain had one more yard on the ground than the Dolphins had in receiving all game, which is
And one
crazy.
thing as well is that I don't know what it is this year. I don't know if it's the scheme. I don't know what it is, but we have not seen Josh Allen to the same level that we have in previous years, running the ball, on design runs, things like that, where he's, when it's, game on the line, third down, him running to, pick up the first down, stuff like that. We haven't actually seen much of that at all this year. So that's something to keep a track of with the Bills. It is, because the 2 games now back of the Patriots as well in the AFC East. So yeah, it was a bit of a humbling for the Bills in Florida.
Yeah, I mean, well, Ali, like you've got to be quite happy with this as well, to the extent of these are your number one pick.
Yep.
It gives you an upper hand in this one. There is a game in a second that I'll mention that also gives you another upper hand in
Hmm.
this one. Um, but I not to toot my own horn here, but I've been on the preview show. I've mentioned a couple of times that I wasn't quite looking towards the word fraudulent,
Mm,
but the Bills have been suspect, and the teams that they beat are teams that they absolutely should. Teams that they've lost to are teams. Well, to be fair, they shouldn't have necessarily lost to them either. Like, where do we go right now with the Bills? Like, Can the term fraudulent be said about them when they're 6-3?
I think they just prove why a lot of people refuse to, like. There's always, everyone, like every odd analyst that will go all in on the Bills every year or whatever. But I think there's a reason why a lot of people are hesitant to go all in on the Bills every year, because they do bullshit like this. Sorry to swear, but like, do you know what I mean? They're just not a serious team, like a serious, like, contending. Does that make sense? Like, they're a
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
contending team. They win a load of games. They're obviously in the playoffs every year, but they just do unserious stuff that, great teams don't do. And this is just another example of that, getting blown out by a division rival who's 2-7.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think, as you said, I mean, you can't really be fraudulent when you've got Josh Allen, because Josh Allen is that good. But when the rest of the team around him, I mean, me and Tom spoke at the start of the season, like, there's not actually that much around him there. Like, everyone's been going really high on the Bills, and it's like one or two injuries, and he's literally throwing to like practice squad guys. So it's they're not really that deep of a team. There's not that much around him like there are on some of those other top teams in the AFC, especially not in that receiving room. So yeah,
And
I
that
mean,
defensive, do you know, like, what do you call it? In terms of, changes to the defense, defensive adjustments to the second half, anything like that, that's something that Sean McDermott and that defense has really struggled with. And they struggled with it again in this game. They just could not stop the Miami Dolphins offense at all.
yeah, just bad loss.
Yeah. Um, Next up, we go to another team that has helped Ollie out and his Browns in the Tank Bowl.
Yes,
In the
baby.
race to tank, it was the New Orleans Saints who beat the Carolina Panthers 17-7. Saints lose Shaheed this week, and you're wondering, they're not very good as it is. They lose one of a key piece on that offense. Then up steps Chris Olave, up steps Johnson, up steps the people that they need to step up. And then also it does help that the Panthers seem to just not know what they're doing half the time, and they'll look good for a couple of games, then they'll be terrible, then they'll be good, then they'll be terrible. Here's one of the games where they were terrible. They go up 7-0 and then 17 unanswered points throughout the rest of the game. Groupie gets a 21-yard field goal. Then in the second quarter, 62-yard reception for Olave, and then in the fourth quarter, Johnson gets a 30-yard reception for a touchdown. Like, this was not a good game by any stretch of the
No.
imagination. Like, again, the Panthers, they pretenders, man. Are they pretenders?
Yeah, well, I mean, even if they were going to go and have a really good, I mean, the best case scenario is they were going to win like 9 or 10 games, and even then, that might not have even, probably most likely would not have even been enough to win the playoffs. But make the playoffs. But at the end of the day, it's still progress. Like,
Yeah.
they've already taken a step forward than what we've seen the last few seasons, even at this point in the season. So anything onwards from this point, you might get obviously disappointed with a loss. You're obviously disappointed losing to a 1-8 Saints team in, division rival. You're obviously going to be disappointed by that, but they're still 500. They still haven't gone beyond below 500 yet. And I don't think they've been able to say that for a very long time at this point in the season. So it's still I think Panthers can still take away from this season that they have taken a step. Bryce Young has shown that he can be a quarterback that can win games for them. Tyler Shook actually had a good game in this. Was pretty decent in this game. So shout out to him as well, as someone that I obviously did not like coming out in the draft.
Yeah.
Always seemed
Made
to
that
be
very vocal, didn't
made
you, on
that
it?
very vocal, and I obviously still do not believe in Tyler Show as a quarterback. I still expect the Saints to take a quarterback either in the draft, or maybe they're the team that decides to bite the bullet and trade for Kyler Murray. Who knows? But as you said, Fletch, not terrible game, but another team in that top pick range that won a game this week while the Browns lost. So I'm obviously going to be excited about that.
And Tom, this is not going away from the top picks, going back onto the Panthers for 1 second. They're still only one game behind the Bucks. Like, the Bucks
Mm,
lose this weekend.
yeah.
That's helpful for them. Um, I they're only one game. Well, sorry, the Bucks are 6-3. They're 5-5. They've still got a bye week to come, but only being one game behind the Bucks is not a bad place to be right now. So you might not, even if 9-10 games doesn't make it into the playoffs necessarily. You are, with hopefully a couple of games going your way, you could be making it hot at the top of the NFC South.
Yeah, I mean it's tough though because the recipe that they've had to win a lot of these games is that they've the run game has really helped propel them in these games, especially Rico Dowdle
Yeah,
with
yeah, yeah,
the great season that he's having. But he was somewhat bottled up in this game, and Bryce Young did not play very well in this game either. He had a pretty bad pick. Um, and it's that sort of consistency that they need. If they'd won this game, they could have gone to 6-4, and then just like that, they're right on the tail of the Bucks. But dropping this game, um, what brought them to five and
5-5.
5-5 now,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
right? So I get they're only one game behind, but at the same time, I think the Bucks are just a better team than the
yeah,
Panthers. And I think if and when obviously this is a big deal as well with the Bucks, the health of Bucky Irvin because him missing in the lineup has been massive for them. As soon as he gets back, I think they'll just add another element to their offense, and they should be able to run away with this division. But all credit to the Panthers for the way that they've grinded out some of these games and actually played pretty well. In the losses they played bad, but in the wins they played really good complementary football. To how do you pronounce his name? Teodoro McMillan, Tetero
Yeah.
McMillan,
Tetero McMillan, yeah, yeah,
Tetero McMillan. Yeah, yeah. He's played really well. And then that combined with the run game, has really helped them. But it was just a bit of a bump in the road for
yeah,
them. And fair play to the Saints, for getting that win.
Yeah, he still led the Panthers terracotta Macamillion in this game.
Um, but Panthers started the season 1-3. September they went 1-3. October they went 3-1. November they're 1-1.
Yeah.
So there's three more games in here. So we'll see how it works for them. Their bye week doesn't come until the first week of December. So and in that run they've got the Falcons, the Niners, and the Rams to face. So this could be 1-4 in November if they're not too careful.
Hmm.
Yeah.
One more game, I think, before we kind of go through the ones we can fly through. And I think we can kind of fly through this one, but it was an AFC West affair. It was a disgusting affair. I was going to stay up and watch this game. I watched the first quarter and said, this is not worth any lack of sleep whatsoever. I can watch a 3-minute highlight video tomorrow. Raiders 7, Broncos 10. Thursday night football. Tom, this is AFC West at its best, isn't it? Just at its finest.
You know, it's a bad game when Al Michaels, who, he doesn't give a fuck anyway because he's been doing it for 40 years. But when he is just on some mad tangent, like midway through the second quarter, and he's not even talking about the game because it's just that bad. There's not that much to talk about. I don't blame the guy. This Broncos offense, I just don't understand how it can be this inconsistent. They go and put up so many points against the Giants. Obviously, I know the Giants aren't a good team. Um, and then they'll put up, enough points to win. It almost feels like to me that this Broncos team is like the Chiefs of last year. They went 15-2. That they're just finding ways to win these one-score games somehow. And this was, another example of that, really. Funny enough, the Raiders actually went up in this game, with a Nash and Genty touchdown. Um, and then, the Broncos did what they did. They came back into it. Their defense played great. The Raiders defense also played great. And it was just a pretty terrible game. It brought us back to the standard of what we think the Thursday night football games should be or have been. We've been treated
Yeah.
to some good ones, but this felt like the most Thursday night football game of Thursday night football games we may have ever seen.
Well, especially the Broncos, Tom, because obviously everyone remembers when Russ joined the Broncos a few years ago and they had all of those Thursday night games on Prime and they were absolutely terrible.
Yeah, 100%. And the Broncos. somehow at 8-2. I have no idea how they are. I feel like they should be, probably 6-3 at best, or what have you. But they've found their way to these wins, and now the Chiefs play them next week, so that'll be a big game because
Big game.
massive game because if the Broncos win that, then they're definitely primed to win the division, and stop the chief streak of that. But this game, yeah, it was just wasn't a great game. Let's be totally honest with it, and better not said a lot about this game really, other than it was
Well,
somewhat close.
you said that you're not entirely sure why they're so inconsistent on offense, and I can tell you exactly why they're so inconsistent on offense, and it rhymes with no pricks. um, you know, it, a broken clock is twice right. Is twice right. So I can't even speak. A
Is right
broken clock
twice.
is
It's sometimes
right
right
twice
You
a
twice.
know what?
day.
I was going to be willing to leave you to do it
There we go.
till you gave up. I got it.
When I said that Bonitz was not a good quarterback prospect, I didn't mean it his rookie year. I obviously meant it his sophomore year. Once people figured him out, and he has been uninspiring. But as you said, Tom, they still keep finding ways to win. One of the benefits of having Sean Payton as your head coach, and yeah, they keep finding ways
Also,
to
one
win.
of the benefits of having Nick Bonito and Zach
Yep,
Allen and
yep,
however
and
many
having one of the
people
best
in that.
defenses in the NFL. That
I
does
mean,
say
not
a lot.
even what it's this is shaping up to be one of the best defenses like of recent
Yep.
times. Like in terms of the sack numbers, I think they're already up to 45 sacks or near or 48 or something like that, which is 13 more than the next closest team. They are just
Yep.
taking people
That
down.
Chiefs game is going to be a great game because, as you
Yeah.
said, Tom, if they win that, then the division's pretty much in their hands,
Yep.
and they've got a great chance. And then even then, I mean, you look at the Chargers. If the Chargers keep winning as well, the Chiefs are still a game behind the Chargers, so that division is going to get interesting for the first time in about 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, then see if you can get this. The Denver Broncos, you are so close, Tom. 46 sacks on the year.
Oh, close.
The next best is two teams who are tied with how many?
Or didn't you say 13 less? So
33.
32.
32.
32. Is it the Falcons?
Nope,
Is
not
it
far off.
the oh not the Bucks? Would it be? Hmm. Trying to think. Oh, maybe the Texans?
Nope. I'll give you one more guess.
I'm going to say
Okay.
the Browns, even though I know it's not the Browns, but
Not the Browns. It's the
Is it the
Seahawks.
Patriots?
No, Seahawks and Steelers.
oh, of course, yeah,
Oh,
of course,
Seahawks.
yeah.
Yeah, Seahawks have been doing really good.
Both
Yeah.
of them have got 32. The Detroit Lions are in third/fourth with 30. And then the Chargers, the Falcons, and the Colts all have 29.
Nice.
Um, every time, by the way, I just wanted, before I interject into another game, this is, by the way, this is the quick fire bit. These were all blowouts. Every time I hear the Colts this year, I still get sent back to, because you hear them a lot now. I get sent back to the clip that we had over a year and a half ago with Ollie just mentioned, talking about the Colts.
Colts. I was saying this to Ollie a couple of weeks ago, Fletch, that we were just a year early on the trend. We
Yeah,
said we said it was going to be Anthony Richardson leading them to the division, and we just didn't know it was going to be Daniel Jones the year after. So we're fine, we're good.
I I'd say I want to say no one knew that, so I think we're okay in not knowing that bit. No one. If you went back in time a year with the crystal ball and said Daniel Jones will be top of the AFC South and running arguably right now one of the best teams in football at the Colts, everyone had laughed at you as hard as they could.
Yeah.
Um, but I say quick fire round. These were all the early games. All the early games were great. They were nice. There was a lot going on in them. Then you hit 9 o'clock, and then it
Oh
just
my
turned
words, yeah.
into blowout central. Um,
Mm.
There was one point where it was, I think it was in the first half, where the combined score of all three games was like 70-3.
it was
Like
nuts.
just insane.
Yeah.
Um,
All of them over at halftime.
Yeah.
it, we'll start with the Cardinals Seahawks. That one was, of all the games that could be done early and gone, that was the one. Seahawks were 35 nothing up midway through
Yeah,
the second half. Ollie,
yeah,
man, like this was disgusting.
yeah. They are legitimate Super Bowl contenders. They should be treated as such. Mike McDan, is it? I always is it? It's Mike McDaniel, isn't it? McDonald. No,
Mike
Yeah,
what is it?
McDonald.
Mike
Mike
McDonald.
McDonald. Not Mike McDaniel. He is literally, you know, making the case for being a top five head coach in the NFL already this young in his career as a head coach. He is very, very good. His defense is very, very good. Their offense, they don't even need to be that like, in your face. Like the numbers aren't even that insane, but they just get the job done. Like if you looked at the score, you would think that Sam Darnold had like 300 yards at halftime, and he threw like 8 passes. Like they just are that good. They just win in so many different ways. They are such a complete team. I mean, they've been winning games this year when like their whole secondary's out. Like it just doesn't matter. They're just such a complete team. It doesn't matter what areas down where they got injuries, they can pick up the slack in other areas. And as I said, just such a good team. They should be treated as Super Bowl contenders. And the
Yes.
Cardinals are just, the biggest question for the Cardinals for the rest of the season is just going to be where does Kyler Murray go next year?
Mm.
Yeah.
And also from this game, I wanted to shout out two specific players for the C. Well, three players really. Obviously Jackson Smith and Jigba again with the Ohio State, wide receivers, they're absolutely dominating. I mean, this guy has already gone over 1,000 yards for the year. Had another beautiful touchdown in this one, 90 odd yards as well. And then defensively, I wanted to shout out Tyrese Knight and Demarcus Lawrence because those two, I mean, Tyrese Knight knocked the ball loose on both occasions with Demarcus Lawrence picking it up and rushing in for a touchdown. That's got to be a record or something. Yeah, per ESPN research, Lawrence became the fourth player in NFL history with multiple fumble return touchdowns in the same game, and the
Mm.
first since Jeremy Chin, who had two for the Panthers in 2020.
Damn,
Um,
Jeremy Chin.
so yeah, a bit of a throwback with Jeremy Chin. But yeah, I mean, this, as Ollie said, this game was over at halftime. I mean, when they were 34
This
nothing
game
up.
was over in the first quarter.
Yeah, I mean, it might this game might have been over as soon as Jackson Smith and Jigba scored that touchdown. To be honest
Yes.
with you,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to Trey McBride though for the Cardinals as well. He is the
Yes.
one bright spot for them. He's just an absolute like him and Brock Bowers. I think the two best tight ends in the league. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 127 yards, one touchdown for McBride. But yeah, I mean, what I give that obviously we need to give the shout out to Lawrence and to Dexter Lawrence and all that. Like you mentioned the defense, you talk about Mike McDonald. Obviously, we have to give a shout out to the defensive coordinator. That is Aiden Durd. That
go on,
is
Aiden.
London boy. Um,
Yep.
representing this side of the
Did he
pond.
did he call does he call the players?
I do not know. I'm not that
Because
in.
obviously, I'm McDonald. I'm not. I wouldn't be surprised if he calls the players. Obviously, he's just still young, isn't
But
he? Either
like,
way, shout out to him. Either way.
yeah. I mean, like I say, it's great to see again. He's London boy out
Yep.
there in the second highest position you can get within an
Yep.
NFL team as far as staff goes.
Yep.
That was a blowout, 44-22, Seahawks 7-2, Cardinals 3-6. That division, as always, is going between three teams.
Yep.
The two of those other teams played each other in a game that also pretty much was just a blowout. The Rams were up 21-0 very early. Niners tried to make a bit of a comeback, but then Sean McVay said, no, no. And then the Rams run away with it again, Tom. Like, this is nuts. You want to talk
Yeah,
about
yeah,
stacked,
it
don't you?
was. It was for sure. I mean, as you said, 21 nothing. Fair play to the 49ers. They didn't lie down. They did come back into this game 21-14. But the Rams just kept They had a couple possessions where they had to punt, and then after that they had drives of touchdown, 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 kneel down. So that's just domination from start to finish, really. We felt like the 49ers were gonna struggle in this game. I mean, the offense didn't struggle, don't get me wrong. Mac Jones had a monster game. He had 3 touchdowns in this one. But I mean, it's all about Matthew Stafford, isn't it? I mean, the guy is playing
MVP.
absolute ridiculous, out of his mind. He should be the front runner I said, JT MVP. I think it will be more likely, Matt Stafford MVP and Jonathan Taylor Offensive Player of the Year, because it feels like it's a quarterback award nowadays anyway. But, Stafford in his last 6 games has thrown 20 touchdowns to no picks with a 5-1 record.
Yeah.
He's the first quarterback in league history with 20 touchdown passes and no interceptions in a 6-game span during a single season. He also made history by becoming the 9th player ever to reach 400 passing touchdowns. This
And
season is cementing him as a Hall of Famer if he wasn't already.
hey,
And he is just playing out of his mind.
he was already a Hall of Famer,
Yeah.
regardless of that. But and that was also funny is that in this game, he finally got to 500 on his career. Well
Mm.
done, guys. Well done, guys. I'm not trying to make you feel bad there, Fletch, by any means. But he's finally been able to shake off a lot of those losing seasons early on in his career. And it's insane to, as you say, Tom, a guy this good that has just hit 500 on his career. He is probably the MVP this year. He is so, so good. And this is why I made a video on my channel begging my team to try and trade from him when there was that slight rumor that he was maybe available in the offseason. So
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford continues to that arm will never age. Rams are Super Bowl,
And he's got the
contenders.
second most consecutive touchdown passes without an interception. So since throwing a first quarter interception against the Eagles in week 3, he's thrown 22 touchdown passes and no picks.
Yeah,
He's 22 straight touchdown passes without an interception, at the second most in a season, trailing only Tom Brady's 26 in 2010. So he
yeah.
is just on a historic pace. This Rams offense is a buzzsaw. I mean, I picked them to go to the Super Bowl. I'm going to keep with that pick. But the main reason I am is just because despite the Seahawks and how well they're playing, I think when it comes to the playoffs, you need complementary football. And I think that the Seahawks have struggled to run the ball at times, whereas, the Rams are such a complete team. They got the offense, they got the defense. They can run the ball with Kyren Williams and Blake Corum, that 1-2 punch. And I think, yeah, they're going to be really, really tough to stop.
Yeah. And I'm always, every single day, every single time you want Matt Stafford love, I am here for it every single time. Um, and I don't think you will find a single Lions fan who will not do that either. Like, now there's no picks riding on it. Go, you cannot wish any player any more success that is not on your team than someone like Stafford. Quick mention, by the way, to Stafford's former team that just so happens to be my team. We beat the Commanders 44-22. This scoreline, by the way, had happened twice in NFL history before this weekend. It happened twice on Sunday, the 44-22. And it's the third time it's happened this year as well. If my camera wants to start working, it don't really
I
matter.
Yeah, I don't know what
thought it
happened
was just
there.
me there. I thought I was going
Um,
mad that.
yeah, apparently it doesn't want to. Yeah, we were just cutting off the background. Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
you bet, you did.
the not too much needs to be said on it. Dominant performance by the Lions, went up 22-3 quite early in the second quarter, and at that point it just looked comfortable the whole way through. At no point did it ever feel like anything other than comfortable.
You know what
The,
was uncomfortable, Fletch, though?
I would say it never did. It never felt like it was uncomfortable. Never
No, but
felt.
do you know what was uncomfortable in this game?
If you've got to say what I think it was, and having the single worst play caller join the booth.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, that is what I was going to
yeah,
say.
that was a lovely 15 minutes my TV went on mute for. And do you know what?
Whoa, whoa, to a 3 yard run that went right up the middle and for nothing. But
Yeah, like that
Shout
was
shout out to the shout out to the no politics in sport crowd.
they were awfully silent yesterday. Oh, and the whole I want to watch football, not look at Taylor Swift crowd.
Yeah.
They were really quiet as well for a bit.
shout out to Deron
Um,
Payne for punching them.
um, but no, it was a very very comfortable, very easy game for the Lions. And all I'll say is like the big difference this weekend. If no one noticed, someone had different eyewear on and was looking at a slightly bigger play calling sheet. Someone was talking a bit more into the microphone while looking at said sheet. Dan Campbell was calling
Shout out
plays.
to Dan Campbell, man. You know, taking over play calling duties for Johnny Morton.
Anyway, yeah.
And he did an excellent job of getting the playmakers the ball, you know, getting
Is this his
Jameson
first
Williams the
week?
ball. Jameson Williams was balling out in this game, and so was I haven't heard you mention yet, Fletch. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs,
Yep.
what a guy.
Yep. 142 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns. He had how many was it in the air? Yeah, 30 yards in the air and the touchdown. Jameson Williams with his 120-yard game. And again, he was just like get him the ball, watch him move. This was this was quite typical last year Lions with a little bit, some slight differences, but it's the Lions of the last couple of years. Multiple playmakers, everyone getting a bit of the ball. Jahmyr Gibbs absolutely dominating, and then unfortunately we only saw David Montgomery at the end, but it was quite typical of. I think more when Dan Campbell has called plays before, the hot hand is the hot hand. Just give it to
Mm.
him, and then obviously the score is what it is at the end. You just give it to David Montgomery,
And
let him run with it.
and from the Commanders side of things, just get to next April with the best pick that you can. Your whole team's either injured or, you know, terrible. So
Mm.
the whole year's just in the bin. Just I think they're just excited to get through this year.
I mean, that being said as well, what's his name might actually come back because he hasn't gone on IR.
If he plays again this year, then every single person in that building should be fired. Every single person.
Yeah,
And I mean that
yeah.
seriously. And
Mm.
of course, of all organizations that would be the organization to do that, it would be Washington. You know, they
Mm.
do have a track record with this stuff. If he plays this year, then yeah, they should. Everyone in that building should be fired.
Yeah.
The season's already lost.
Moving on to the last game of the weekend so far. I again first quarter watched this and was just like, I'm good. I'm so good. It was 3-2. Granted, safety is
That's
not.
literally what I saw as well. First quarter, I saw 3-2, and I was like, okay, I was going to tune in to watch this game, but nah, I'm just going. The fact that NFL was on and I watched something else, I went on Now TV and watched Peacemaker
I
instead
don't
of
even know
watching
what
the
game we're
NFL.
talking about, so that's how much I don't even know.
Steelers Chargers.
Oh, of course, I do know what game we're on about.
Like the game was bad. I saw a safety and I was like, I'm one of those. I like weird plays. I like seeing safeties because it fucks up the scores a bit.
Who had the safety?
The Chargers.
Nice.
Um, and
Well,
then I'm like, I've seen
if
a
any,
safety.
Aaron
Safety's
Rodgers was
terrible.
pretty atrocious
I'm
in this
good.
game as well.
I was going to say, if anyone's going to say anything about this game, I'll take the thing as I'll draw the short straw as the Browns fan, and say obviously low at the Steelers, ha ha ha, Steelers suck, Aaron Rodgers sucks, the whole Steelers organization sucks. But nah, to try and tie it into just to tie it into what we said earlier, talking about the Ravens, like if they blow this, we were saying when you were away, Flet, if the Steelers blow this, you know, the Ravens were 1-5 and they were like 4-2. If you blow this division, then I think even Mike Tomlin might be fired. Of all people that, you know, would not get fired, then even Mike Tomlin might have to be fired after that because that is just inexcusable. And it looks like that might be what's happening. They are just not very good, and I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
Shout out to as much as I'm not well. I can't really like the Chargers because they're the Chargers and they're in the same division as the Chiefs. Shout out to Kamani Vidal, who, funny enough, is the um, what do you call it? Not the grandson, the nephew of Hank Aaron, the baseball Hall of Famer. Very random fact that came out. But shout
Oh,
out to Kamani Vidal.
and one final thing on the Steelers. I've never been more happy to be wrong about a running back prospect. And Caleb Johnson has just, his horror show of a season just, I mean, don't get me wrong. I hope he can leave the Steelers and bounce back because this is someone that I was high on coming out. And wow, he has been very bad.
Yeah. Chargers advanced to 7-3. The Steelers fall to 5-4. And like you say,
Let's go.
right up behind them is the Baltimore Ravens on 4-5. This is gonna get tasty at the top of the AFC North now.
Yep.
Last up, I
And
think.
I'm just for sorry, finally, I was just going to say I'm happy as well because as long as these AFC North teams keep losing, keep these records low, because that has an impact on the strength of schedule that impacts your draft position. We obviously play the AFC more than anyone, so that's obviously going to help our strength of schedule opponents of our opponents. So I just want all of these AFC North teams to finish with 8 wins. I want the Bengals, Ravens, Steelers all to finish with 8 wins. Okay, Ravens 9. Ravens get 9 wins, and then Steelers, Bengals get 8. That would be just perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Lovely. Um, Now, I mean, the only thing to mention now, we've got one more bowl this weekend. I say bowl, it's a thing that too much college football over the last couple of years, everything needs to be a something bowl. Um, we have the Tush Push Bowl, the Green Bay
Yep.
Packers, the Philadelphia Eagles. This was a big start. Well, this was a big battle in the off season. The Green Bay Packers wanted to end the Tush Push. The Philadelphia Eagles did not obviously want to end the Tush Push. I raised this opportunity, and I'm wondering what bets you can put on this. The first play of the game is just a tush push.
Hmm.
Just first
I
play of the game. Like, it gets 1 yard. Who cares? It's the first play of the game. Just open it with that.
I do think there will be tush pushes in this game, and I think they'll do it just to make a point, if more than anything. I will go for the if I was betting, I'd go for the over 4 or over 5 tush pushes in this game. Um, but this game's an interesting one because me and Olive mentioned it before on our podcast as well that the Packers really have not looked impressive since obviously that win against the Steelers isn't looking so good now anyway, and that win against the Lions in Week 1 is seems like a bit of an outlier. A lot of the other games they've managed to scrape by. I mean, they lost against the Panthers last week.
They lost
Uh,
to the Browns.
they lost. I mean, that's what I'm saying. They lost to the Browns. They lost to the Panthers. You know, and it feels like they're a bit on fraud watch. Somehow they're 5-2-1. And the
5-1
Eagles
one, aren't they? Are we
5-1 and
honest?
one.
Is it 5-2-1? Five
Yeah,
two and one.
yeah,
Yeah,
because
sorry.
the Panthers, because
Stand
there was the
corrected.
Panthers.
Yeah, yeah.
5-2-1. And then what are the Eagles going into this game, Fletch?
6-2.
Six and
Six
two.
and two.
Yeah,
Yeah.
6-2. But I think the thing for the Eagles, key for the Eagles is just give the ball to Saquon Barkley, run the ball against this Packers team because they're gonna the if the Eagles run the ball effectively in this game, then they're gonna win the game. I mean, it's pretty simple as that, really. I think at the moment they're a better team than the Packers, and I think they'll probably prove that tonight.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure. I mean,
No?
Saquon Barkley has not really ran that well this year. They've not ran the ball that well this year. They're like a weird 6-2. Like I don't really understand how they're 6-2. And don't get me wrong, I agree with everything you just said, like about the Packers. Everything, like I agree with everything. But I'm not as high on the like. Do you know what I mean? Like I think the Eagles are still one of those teams where it's like their 6-2 record is a bit like,
Mm.
you know what I
I
mean?
mean, their division is terrible as well,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
year.
So
So,
I wouldn't be surprised if Micah Parsons has 4 sacks in this game and the Packers win by a field goal or something like that. I don't think
But
this is like a walkaway win for the Eagles by any chance. I do think this can be a close game.
their only win by more than one score was the Giants
Yeah.
2 weeks ago. before.
Yeah.
And obviously they've had a bye. Well, they've had a bye week in between, but that's the rest of them. They beat the Vikings by 6. They lost to the Giants by 17. Lost to the
Yeah.
Broncos by 4, but then beat the Bucks by 6. Beat the Rams by 7. Chiefs by 3. Cowboys by 4. Every game has been one score, and look, you're talking any game that's one score. Don't care who it's against, how good you look. You're always 1-2 plays away from it being a completely different game and the result going the other way.
Yeah.
And you split similar to, like, say, similar to the Packers. I'm trying not to jump on it because I don't want to sound like I'm just hating. But they lost to the Browns. You tie against the worst defense in the National Football League in the Dallas Cowboys, or second worst. Just scrape past the Bengals. You just scrape past the Cardinals. You just scrape past. Oh, I say just scrape past the. You look good against the Steelers.
Scrape past the Chiefs.
And no, I'm
Oh,
talking about
you're on
well,
about the
talking about the Packers
Broncos.
here.
You're on about the
And
Packers,
then
my bad.
then
Yeah.
then you do whatever the hell it was you call that against the Panthers. Like, I'm not even sure what that was. I believe it was football. Didn't look
They
like it.
scraped past the Cardinals. I mean, they just about won that game as well. Like they've not been impressive. Like they need if this is the sort of if this is a Super Bowl team, they need to go out here and prove in this game, even if they end up losing it. But if they have a performance where the offense is clicking, they lose a shootout, 35-32 or something like that, then you're coming away with it from a more positive aspect. But if the Eagles come out and then beat the Packers 26-17 or 30-17 or something, then you know that the Packers are on fraud alert. So, and I agree, Ollie. I don't think the Eagles are this good. It's just I think the Packers have been that inconsistent and not that impressive that I think the Eagles will probably win this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's one of those seasons. I don't know. I'm looking at the NFC here in particular. But like the AFC, the leaders are not who you think they would be, and you've had the Chiefs had a slow start. The Bills have had a bit of an off start. The Ravens have had a slow start. They're the three every year that you expect. The Bengals, you want to expect, but then 3 weeks goes in, Joe Burrow goes out injured, and you realise why you didn't actually properly expect them to do well in the first place. And then the NFC is it just seems so open, so wide open at the moment that, like, no, it's this season's begging for a team or two to really take the reins, really take the bull by its horns, and
Yeah.
this is possibly an opportunity for one of these teams to do it.
Yeah. Agree.
Um,
Completely agree.
so, but with that being said, what are we hurdling this week, lads?
Uh,
I haven't actually thought about it.
Hurdle that tank. I don't know.
I was going to
Hurdle.
say hurdle that JT.
Who? Justin Timberlake.
No, Jonathan Taylor.
Oh.
I don't know.
We'll go with hurdle that tank just this once because,
Hurdle
like,
that tank.
I feel like for the next few weeks we'll still be hurdle that JT can happen at any point. Hurdle that tank
Oh,
seems like
trust me, hurdle that tank will be happening all week long. Oh, sorry, all season long for the Browns.
this feels like a good kickoff point for that one. So hurdle that tank, but also hurdle that Jonathan Taylor as well. Um, and we will see you on Thursday for Friday morning for the preview show. We'll be looking at the Madrid game, a couple of other things that are going on around the league, and college football show on Thursday. Oh, wait, hang on. Let me press the wrong button.